na si aso na yenya wo hene foforo be ma ba ko ba yo so won tisa na yo ba
na yo ba
oh ye de nyame ase e no ba be yo hema Nana yem come on the so about Dagomba and Konkomba yem munwe mai na yintimi nkomo
quickly nka me person be stra na ma ka no brofo
okay
sana be ya emreni wonanti sana be ya ye brofo ya betima flow no I want to say very good morning to you and your cherished viewers both on television and then on your various social media platforms. Okay. I don't really have anything to say, but if you look at what is happening in the country, or especially up north, if you are a leader, leaders are like us, we need to prompt the government and some of the key institutions to certain things that we think would jeopardize the peace and security that we are all enjoying over there. So I will be making an appeal to the National House of Chiefs, a noble house, of course, the Parliament of Ghana, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and then also the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious. Now, what is it about? Over the weekends, that was last week, thereabout, there was a visit by the Speaker of Parliament to the King of Dagombas, which is Yana, to be precise. And then he made an appeal to the Speaker that whenever their constitution comes to the decks, they should fasten processes. It is good for every country or every tribe, even if it is an association, to have a constitution to enable the smooth running of it. I applaud the Dagombas for that. Okay. But we, the Konkombas and the Bassaris,
people, they are doing constitution.
They are reviewing their constitution, which is a 1930 constitution, which is perfect. We don't have a problem with that. I agree and I applaud them for that. But I have portions of that constitution which they are doing, which we think as a tribe, Konkombas and the Bassaris, it is going to go against us. And then that will jeopardize the peace that we are all enjoying. You see, the Dagombas, they are our neighbors.
Why?
Very well. I will come to that. Okay. In the first place, the Dagombas and Konkombas, we are neighbors. We are never one. We are neighbors.
We are neighbors, okay.
But we are not one. We are not brothers. We are neighbors. Our customs and traditions are totally different altogether. I'll come to that. Now, as I was saying, let me bring the essence of what we think when they do, or the Parliament of Ghana, or the National House of Chiefs, whenever they let it go, it is going to jeopardize the peace and security of that. Okay. Number one, when you look at their constitution, they stated 4 key things that we are totally against, and we are objecting that. Number one, they stated their territorial boundaries, that they share boundary or border with the Gwenjes, the Mamprusis, the Nanubes, and then the Republic of Togo, which some of us, that is the Konkombas and the Bassaris, disagree. I will come to that. Number two, they stated in their constitution, part of it, as to who descend or who are sent to the throne of some of our skins or our skins in the north. That is precisely Saboba's skin, Nakwayeri, and then some of other skins that we have over there. They have tried to let everybody know as to who are sent to that when the substantive chief demises, which we disagree with that. Like I said, our customs, culture, traditions are totally different. So they can't come to tell us what they want us to do and what they know. That is what we are appealing to the National House of Chiefs, to let them take off that particular portion. Also, they spoke about establishing the land secretariat in the paramountcies and the divisions up north in our lands. When I talk about our lands, that is the Konkomba lands. And you know what the National Secretariat or the Land Secretariat are going to be doing? Part of their job is to be leasing lands to the people over there. You know, our people are farmers. And they are saying that the minimum or the maximum, what they call a period they can lease a land to you is 20 years. So if you are a farmer and you are farming, and then the National Secretariat or the Secretariat come into force and they've started their work, they will be leasing or selling lands to our people. 20 years, you have to come back to them for a review. If you want to build maximum 30 years, you have to come to them to pay, which we are totally against that. Number 3, which I will state also, is they try to divide we the Konkombas into 2. When you talk about Konkombas, it is a group of clans that comes to make Konkombas. But in their constitution, they stated Bigbem to be separate, stated Nafiba or Benafib to be separate, and then they stated some to as Konkombas.
Now you're about 3.1 million people.
Exactly. Look, even before the division or the carving of some of the regions out of the major Nedo region, that is those days, Konkombas and the Bassaris were the second in population.
Okay.
So if you have this huge tribe, how do you put one under one in this modern century? How possible is that going to be? So now, let me get to their territorial boundaries, and then we'll go back to history a bit. Okay. And I'll tell you why we Konkombas say we own those places. We were there, we are there, and we will continue to be there. Number one, when you go to the history, you know, sometimes in the history of this country, the Europeans came into Ghana. That was the then Gold Coast. Okay. For various reasons. Some came for trade, some came for missionary, and then others for whatever. There were Portuguese, there were the Netherlands, but none of them, and then the British. I want to state again, none of them were able to advance to the Konkomba lands. None of them, except the Germans. Okay. And the Germans too, they had their camp in a town called Kara, a village called Kara. Kara is now in Togo. So when the Germans were based in Togo, they then advanced to the Konkomba lands. And the Konkomba lands, those of us who knows there, or anybody who is watching me and don't know, I want to draw a bit or a map about the Konkomba lands. When you get to Nalo, you get to Nalo, and then you get to Saboba. These are the areas of you get to Nalo, Nandita, Saboba, Sunsong, and then you get to Yajo, Wapuli. Yajo, that this day they call Savelugu, it's never Savelugu. The original name is Yajo. You come to Chal, and then part of the Eastern Corridor, you are coming to Sanguli, Tatali area, then you come to Cap, where Bassaris, our brothers, dominate, and then you get to a place called Ibubu. These are our lands. We were there, we were the occupants of these lands, and we are still the occupants of these lands, and will continue to be the occupants of these lands. Now, when the Germans came, they had a lot of resistance from our people, that is the Konkombas. And it will interest you to know that the Konkomba land is the first place in the country where we had a machine gun shot first. Yes, it was on our land that machine gun was first shot in this particular sub-region. That is, I'm talking about the entire West Africa. And there were a lot of atrocities. And we, the Konkombas, were the victims. Upon all this, our people defended our lands. And they are still defending the land. We were the occupants of those areas. Now, Germans had a way of controlling our people. When Germans were controlling the place, the British never got to that particular territory. British were somewhere around the, they were around Saliga, Tamale area. They never advanced to the areas I've just spoke about. So, fast forward, there was a First World War, and the British, France, managed to defeat the Germans. Okay. What did they do? Normally, those days, when you defeat somebody, you take over their colony. So the British and the French decided to divide the colony of the Germans after they left. That is our lands now into two. So that is how come you get or you see Konkombas, some of them in Ghana, and then others in Togo. It is not that Konkombas migrated from Togo to Ghana. So anybody who is quite ignorant about this very history, and then they try to say Konkombas are Togolese, they moved all the way from Togo to Ghana. That is never true. When they partitioned the place, you realize that part of our lands, which is now Ibubu, where I said the first, what do you call it, machine gun was first shot, it is now in Togo. Okay. The partitioning was done somewhere around 1928, 1929, thereabout. 1928. So it was divided between the French and then the British. Okay. Fast forward, when that partitioning was done, the British now took over their part after the division. So because they were already with the Dagombas, they were actually ruling them through the indirect rule. So because they took over from the Germans, they now, administrative-wise, put Konkombas under Dagombas in the name of indirect rule. Okay. So wherever they advance and then they see that Konkombas are dominating, then they try to plant some of the Dagomba chiefs over there. For example, you see Jagbir, where we call Jagbir, they call Jagbele, you see a Dagomba chief there. I will come back to that maybe probably in another episode. So after all what they've done to us, and after all what, even the Dagombas are banking their hope on a particular historian who wrote about the settlement of people. His name is Mr. Ferguson. But then he was with the British, not with the Germans. Okay. So when they wrote about the settlement of the people who owns where, because he didn't come to, they were referring to our area, hinterland. But then there was nothing like the British, there were nothing like Gold Coast, nothing like Togo. The whole place was combined. So now that the people left, and then we were now under the British rule, eventually Ghana obtained independence. And then there was a referendum for us to vote as to whether we'll be part of Ghana or part of Togo. Gladly, the Konkombas and the Basari voted to be part of Ghana, and then the rest too was in Togo. Now, my appeal to the National House of Chiefs, the Parliament of Ghana, and then the Attorney General, which I am reliably informed that the document is before the National House of Chiefs, is they should call the Dagombas, their leadership, let them know that portions that I've just mentioned, they should take off these particular portions out of their constitution before giving them the legal backings. If not, the Dagombas are going to face serious resistance from our people. I can bet that. As I speak to you, the document, I'm reliably informed, it is before the National House of Chiefs. From there, it will then come to Parliament. And then through the Attorney General, they'll have legal backings for it to come into operation. So with these portions, if they don't let the Dagombas take it off, they are going to face a lot of resistance from Konkombas and the Basaris. That one I can bet you. We were Konkombas, and we were the occupants of those lands. We are still Konkombas. We are occupying those lands. And we will still continue to occupy those lands. There is no way somebody can come to tell us that we don't have lands. They own that place. Never. I don't even want to come to the new Land Act as to what it states about lands and all of that. Maybe probably another time we'll delve into that. So this is my appeal to these particular noble institutions, and they must listen and listen good.
And to share the basis of the war, it seems tribal claims are over land ownership. And when I
exactly, Master, if you look at most of the conflict, the tribal conflict we experience in the north, it is either chieftaincy or land dispute. So if this is what is looming, and we as leaders, we don't prompt them, and the government don't listen, it is something that is going to jeopardize the peace and security that we are all enjoying over there. Because you can't tell me my great-great-grandfather where he lived, where he is still living, and where I was born, my grandfather was born. You are telling me that that land does not belong to me, it belongs to you. And I am throwing a challenge out there to any of our neighbors, whether they are chiefs or any other person, to come and tell her who were there before the Konkombas. Like I said, that area was just a fallow land. Some refer to it as a plateau region. There was nobody there. And Konkombas did not come to, as I know, to the Dagombas for a negotiation to live over there. If there was that kind of negotiation or memorandum of understanding, I challenge anybody out there to pull it out for all of us to see. We own that place, and we'll continue to own them.
But Nana, answer na look, now at least about, about 2,000 people, and as you see, no, a conflict here, a course between a Konkomba and a Dagombas. Papa, a brass to say to me this year, 2 years, and once as a king, more casa day in, day out on different platforms. About 150,000 people, and I say, oh, this pressy as part of the dispute. Nana, two of Kaka for my say a brasso, or Munjem, Naka ye, Uncle to ye for my.
Like I said, war or conflict wouldn't benefit anybody. In the country, we are all praying and then hoping, and our prayer is there should be peace. If even you disagree with anybody, at least there is a court. You go to court to seek redress. But when you realize that certain things, the government probably, in the case of the Konkombas, I can tell you probably another platform. The colonial masters and the previous government, precisely a Champo government, took some decisions that disadvantaged the Konkombas. And we did not talk about it. But this time around, at that time, we didn't talk about it. Talking about a Champo government, those of them, you can remember the Alliance Committee and the job they did. Try to allocate lands to other tribes living Konkombas. And when you talk about the colonial masters, like I said, the British try suppression and then putting Konkombas under the Dagombas. In this modern age and century, there is no way that you have this huge tribe bent, if you like, fused under another tribe. For whatever reason, nobody knows. Like I said earlier, our customs and traditions and culture are totally different. Those days, we were pagans. when I talk about pagan, we believe in libations. It's recently that Christianity came. And I can tell you, majority of Konkombas ambassadors are Christians. Yeah. Our neighbors, they are opposite way. They are not Christian. We pour libations. So if our traditions are different, how then do you then say we are under these people and we are them? We are stating it clearly that we are not the Dagombas. That is not to mean that we hate them. They are our neighbors. That is fine. We are not brothers. Okay. Our way of doing things are totally different. And if you get to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, it's stated and then shows who is a king or a chief. The Constitution says that any person hailing from a royal family or has a lineage and is validly selected or elected by the people and then installed or enskinned according to their customs. Okay. The Constitution says that according to their customs. So if our customs and traditions are different from them, how then do we be under them? How then do they dictate to us, try dividing us, telling us who ascend to our skin, our throne, and all of that after the demise of the substantive chief? Okay. That shouldn't happen. Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. We Maranatha morning now when you go to Awushe, Nana Konkomba Basari Chief, Tema Region, and Ubɔr, Magaal, Kuunboln, the first, and I need and come on. It's about Dagomba and Konkomba, Omo and Tokwa Ekosune, Amamra, Constitution, Bimu, Yenebequati Bimono, Paini Piasis, Paini of Fie, na or share. And my friend and Kabunan carry for account. And I say one thing I say, no more sorry, now what team Akon, Eddie Aji, a yeni crew, and any mind to a sorry, Ejan and Amos. So can I send you to go Facebook page, Maranatha TV GH, YouTube, Maranatha TV GH, TikTok. Nana, your last word now for you for Jumadia and Timmy and family.
Let me, with all indulgence, let me speak a bit of my language, Konkomba, or the Basari. Yes, Benukpi, Ndoya, Ndone, Timbanale. Obale anamalenke nefi kelebeja obakija temenale okanjabi temoketebanga na tebanke nantan nangeteleke na entretena na malele na to nantan kambelena bechunya ba kan poni anaba constitution bamponi lekeke benekpe bobole ndakon yonsa te akabate kan ta boleke te pa bobor pampam beketembu ne ekete boyen bichi abanantitena eya boyen tena betiche ana to do ya gbanche betikan sana ka beleka be malakpa apwa leto ba egetefo na ba na ko poni fu ba ka ba ntesele jaba mo na ba ka kapele be gede besele ka leka polita leka kaketa so tekpa even consensus bobor pampam benebo e ya kambeke ndake temo bena bege moxi agnabo abun makanse na ndake ne yele bo mo ka pomo to mo na ombo bi obi abo na neto.
Okay. Nana etimi akanina no eje amamono. Nana se no ntokwa no eda so muntamu.
Oh, for now, yeni obia ni ntakwa as I speak to you. Yeni obia ni ntakwa. But yana ye binu ye hwe. A ye fi se government no wan yi ma omo an yi amfi mu a. Omo constitution na omo ye no. Yanka se enye. Yeni omo constitution yeni problem with the entire constitution. It is good. Meeting us no me bo omo abaso. So omo ayade. So omo constitution sana be ya sana ebeya sa obifim anasa ombeye bibia ebetuma abo mo emu mfantamanto ba omo ankasa no it is good but the na emu ayo no eye nema me enan a me bobo so no ene de mbe pese the National House of Chiefs like I said bebia kracha no be kobia no omo mfre omo na omo mo nti ase say ye konkomofo no si aha ene yempe aha ene enye nukre aha na ke say e wo so omo je de omo yemfim
sima ba kon fato na House of Chiefs enim sima ba kon onko anayenko.
Like I said, the 4 points that we're talking about is their territorial boundaries, which is not accurate. It is not true, number one. Number two, try to divide Konkombas. You know, a lot of clans that makes up Konkombas. You can call some Bim, call some Nafi, call some Konkombas, call some... We don't have that. That is never true. We don't agree to that. We don't subscribe to that. Number three, the land secretariat that they're talking about to come and put, we are not going to agree today. That wouldn't work. And then number four, coming and delving into our culture and our customs and telling us who is to be chief and at what point in time is never something that we are going to allow. Even the Constitution of the Republic stated, when you get there, the Parliament of Ghana, not any government institution can confer any chieftaincy title on anybody, not to talk about even a tribe. That is not done anywhere. This is what we are saying, and we'll continue to say that.
Okay, Afi, would you the National House of Chief for their moment message to call for your people
Quickly, my regards to all the Konkombas is good we live in unity and harmony with any other tribe around us. The coexistence that we're having with them, some of us are very grateful. We applaud you for that. But what we want to say, we should remember that we are Konkombas. We should uphold our culture and customs. We should, if we have any issue among us, we have leaders, we have chiefs, we have noble chiefs that we can take it to them to resolve that. If you have any other thing to any other tribe or your neighbor, there is court. You can go to court. You can to seek a legal redress instead of probably picking the laws to your own hands. I'm not here to incite anybody, but we want the whole world, we want the government to know what is actually on the ground, and then they try to resolve that as quickly as possible. Njam obia nabiam bukpel nab obia ijansan ye konna mpele akpe ntemo baba decide akpe kitin like sheni konkone be kini sheni ankasa sheni ansa sini kitinge bi la pusini achu totally side lank no konkone oil tema oil still oil be discovery la pokasa sheni ansa sini na tip pon que make sure e lank tembe kakinane bia la kpantin teme yini titaki ntemo ne bo kpantin tenyeki nteme satemetemwe amant de nteme tefate kpantin ayinge kuchu teme so ipo alanga po dalba obata dali teme kai lapo bapo ne blale tinyala ne kedam ko lapo tinengmane no chita agreement so njamo bia kunyo bantin no pe umpe betene bo motikaskene tete teme wunde tesa bene bantin dalba bonin lada fata dal ananga po bo motine basa teninya lanke ne woni janu no pu malte lada le injun ka be lada won ko di yondo ba tete tenabi ande tenabi sabne bantana tenanga antu wan kichan tenyo pe ne betikaske njano
Nana Injami, thank you.
Thank you.
And Injami. Also, thank you for watching us live this morning on Maranatha TV. Yene Konkomba Basari Chief, the Matema region, and the Jano Ubɔr, Magaal, Kuunboln, the first. And Yeno etimi isia video mo ni dim komo. Ewa sumjia ope ediamane manfo ne mai eno oman Ghana. Mejina weso na mejamene ne nkomo chichi enu mu yetumi ediesia. Yeda ye ho asaba biem nkomo foforo ewo ha ye besa ni wadi. Yako Abba.